Hello, my Caribbean Bird Stories crew. It's my pleasure to introduce you to my next guest, Lisa Lee Arno. I've asked Lisa to be part of a special feature this season called The Young Veteran Mom. This segment will feature mothers who aren't baby boomers, yet they have quite a bit of experience parenting teenage and even university age children. Lisa is an award winning TV broadcaster and reporter who currently works as the host for Taste the Islands, an international culinary adventure show streaming on Amazon Prime TV. She is also entering her 12th season as the host of School Duel, a premier high school academic game show in South Florida. As a TV host and on air personality, Lisa has most notably served as the in arena reporter for the Miami Heat TV. She was also featured as Miami's top 40 under 40 leaders of tomorrow in Legacy magazine. Lisa recently started her own PR company called the LA PR Firm. I'll put more details in the show notes. With all these accomplishments, you're probably thinking Lisa can't possibly have time for a family. However, my first introduction to Lisa proved this couldn't be further from the truth. Not only does she make time for her family, it is abundantly clear that her family is her top priority. Take a listen. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Shamal. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be talking to you, and thanks for the interest in me being a veteran mother.
A young veteran mom.
Young veteran mom. That was a very nice way of so thank you.
Great. So first of all, for my audience, I like to highlight where each member is from. All right. So each guest. So where were you born, Lisa?
I was born in Valley Stream, New York, which is on Long Island. We lived in Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents are from Jamaica.
Okay. So you have some Caribbean heritage.
Yes.
So how old were you when you first became a mother?
I was 23.
Good. And then how many children did you have? Like, how many children do you have in general, in total?
So I found out a month before our wedding that I was 12 weeks. I ended up being 12 weeks pregnant at our wedding. So,
wow.
So we had to alter my wedding dress and everything. I was pregnant with my first. She is now 20 years old. She'll be 21 in this August coming. So this year she turns 21. I have an 18-year-old and I also have a 9-year-old.
Lovely.
Yeah. Okay. So I was 23, 25, and 34 when I had my 3 kids. And I had a miscarriage in between of twins at the age of 27, 28.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your journey to motherhood. So I'm guessing that it was a little unexpected when you found out.
Very unexpected. We found out on New Year's Day, and it was very unexpected and very welcome, though. You know, I tell my daughter she was born into a loving home and from 2 people who desperately loved each other, and we welcomed her. We wanted her. And it was a surprise. It was definitely a surprise.
Right.
But nonetheless, you know, she's 20 now and I'm only 44. Come this Friday, I'll be 44. So yeah, I'm a young veteran mom, like you said.
Yes. So when you were expecting your first child, and we know it's a daughter, do you want to say her name or are you keeping
her name? It's already out there, Alyssa.
Oh. Okay, so Alyssa.
I'm already a public figure, so for the most part, all my business is out there. But yeah, Alyssa. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when you were expecting Alyssa, were there things told to you, whether it was Caribbean or Jamaican pieces of advice about what you should and shouldn't do, or things to look out for, you know, being an expectant mother for the first time at 23?
Gosh, that's a good question. I cannot remember anything in particular.
Right.
Everything happened for me at once. Like we had gotten married, we moved in, I was pregnant. Everything was just like, so I can't really separate the whole pregnancy from the marriage, and everything just happened all at once for me. But, you know, I had a very supportive home. Me and my parents were very supportive. I can not so much. The pregnancy itself was a little rough. I was sick with her. I remember being like miserably sick and always sending my husband to get Slurpees for me and to help quease the nausea. And with that pregnancy. But as far as like advice that I was given, I don't remember anything particularly or, culturally related.
Right. Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about that whole transition, because for some young people, they do get married and soon after they find out they're pregnant. So just becoming a wife is a huge transition, right? And then the transition of motherhood kind of
Right.
slapped on top of that. How did you cope with all of those changes at the same time?
Well, I will say this. It was difficult, and I can talk about this openly now, but during that time I couldn't. But I remember like when the baby was born, I remember when she came into the world. I mean, my husband was so ecstatic and elated, and he was saying how she feels a void in her heart that he's never even known existed. For me, it was a different experience. For me, I felt more bonded with my daughter when she was in my womb than when she was actually born. And it was a
Right.
weird transition. And now I'm recognizing it. No one really was talking about like postpartum depression and signs to look out for. And I remember, having really bad thoughts and, I didn't immediately bond. And even the first Mother's Day, I still didn't feel like a mother. I didn't feel like Mother's Day was about me. Mother's Day was about my mom. So
Right.
it took a few years before I actually said, hey, you guys need to celebrate me for Mother's Day. It's a while before I felt ready to be celebrated as a mother. So the transition into motherhood, I think the transition into being a wife was easier for me than the transition into being a mother. I was a great mother. I'm very loving. I sacrificed my career. I gave my all to my kids, and I still do. And everyone knows that when they see me. But initially, when I think back, it was just, I took very good care of her. I was a great mom. But I'm just saying that initial bond that you think is going to always just happen, it
Like
didn't.
automatically. Yeah.
And I loved her and I nursed her and everything. But I just remember there were days where thinking, wow, like, and I didn't feel like a mother.
Yeah.
It's weird to say. It's I don't know. I think unless you've experienced it, it's kind of hard to articulate.
No, but I think it's important because, like you said, people don't talk about it until maybe years later and they recognize, well, what's going on. But the fact that you've experienced it and you can now verbalize it to everyone, maybe someone listening can say, oh, okay, so maybe I'm not abnormal for feeling this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is.
well,
It's
thank you
normal.
for sharing. Now tell me, you've had three births, I'm assuming, right?
Vaginal
You said you
births.
had a miscarriage in
Mhm.
between that. We'll talk about that in a little bit if you don't mind. But um, tell me about the most memorable labor and delivery of the three.
Well, so only pick one. I can't talk about all three
Okay, so you can talk about all three, but
because they're
tell me.
all good stories. So, so the first one with Alyssa, I remember waking up. I remember my doctor at the time. I loved my doctor. He was a great guy. He told me I was 36 weeks and I was at my 36-week checkup, and he said, okay, I'm going away. I think he was going on vacation. And I said, no, you can't go on vacation. I'm going to have this baby. And he goes,
Right.
Lisa, you're 36 weeks. You're not going to have this baby. It's your first baby. You got 4 more weeks to go. You'll be fine. Well, lo and behold, that weekend I went into labor.
Oh my God.
God. So I remember waking up that Saturday morning and the bed was wet. And I was like, I think my water broke, so we call the hospital, and it's only 36 weeks, 5 days. So technically that's like premature. That's an alarm. That's not good. So we called the hospital. We went down and we went to Baptist Hospital in Miami, and we lived in Pembroke Pines at the time. So that was a good 40-minute drive to get down to the hospital. And we got to the hospital and they were saying, no, it doesn't appear that it's your amniotic fluid. But I was starting to get contractions. So I said, I don't know. I'm not. And they were like, you should go back home. I said, I'm not going back home. I'm going to stay right here. And so we ended up staying, and they ended up realizing, yes, I was going into labor. And so my water broke with her. And that was early in the morning. I probably was in labor with her for maybe 13 hours. And I, initially I was in so much pain. Like I asked for an epidural. I didn't want an epidural initially, but I got the epidural. That's why those whole things about, have your plan and
your birth plan
work. When that pain starts to hit you, forget it. Like those, you can't even think straight. So, and I'm a tough girl, but those pains were like strong. So they gave me the epidural. I wasn't feeling anything. And I remember my husband thinking, he kept watching the monitor and the pain, the sharp spikes and how intense the contractions were coming. And I was just talking to him and he's looking at me like, you don't feel that? And I was like, I don't feel anything. He's like, oh my God, it's all the way up. I was fine, so the epidural worked. And then when I gave birth to her, finally, my doctor's colleague came. I didn't know him, but he made it really fun. He came in like this Hawaiian shirt, and apparently he was heading to the Keys that day. And then he got a call that he needed to come deliver my baby. So he came and, we had a good time. And I'm pushing and pushing and pushing out Alyssa. And I remember I had gained like 60 pounds with her, and I was always really tiny. And I gained 60 pounds with her. My doctor said, well, whatever you gain over 25, it's going to be for you to lose on your own. So try not to go past 25. And, I like to eat, so it was good. So when she was born and she came out, she wasn't breathing. So we were pushing. I pushed and pushed, and she came out. And she wasn't breathing. And they rushed in an entire crew, the NICU, all the special nurses and doctors rushed into the room. And I remember that just being those few minutes, I don't even know how long it was, just felt like the longest period of our lives. And they were slapping her. And I just remember them saying, come on, baby, breathe. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. And just a team. And over the loudspeakers, they're rushing people to my room to take care of her. And I'm laying down. And I remember pulling myself up saying, what's wrong with the baby? And the doctor pushed me back down. And he's like, no, you're fine. Just lay down. There's a team of people that take care of her. And it was a minute before she started, she actually started flying and breathing. She eventually started breathing. I mean, just thinking about it now is like,
I know. Oh my God.
It's tough because that was a very, very scary moment in our lives. And so when the doctor pushed me back down, they eventually took her away, and she was, they eventually helped her to breathe, and she was okay. But the next day I got home, and a few days after, I kept feeling like there was something. This is birth stories, so I'm going to tell you birth stories.
Yes, please.
I kept feeling something uncomfortable when I would sit down. It was my first baby, and I felt like the smell was a little off when I would go to the bathroom.
Right.
It was my first child, so I'm like, I don't know, what you're supposed to smell like after you have a baby, or what it's supposed to feel like, but it hurts. So I took a mirror and I looked down, and I saw that there was gauze inside of me from the birth. This was days later. And I used tweezers and took the gauze out and had to go back to the doctor. Yeah. So apparently during that time, and when I think back, it was when the doctor pushed me back because I had an episiotomy. And I remember also they told me she's 5 pounds, and I threw myself up and said, 5 pounds? 5 pounds? That's it? So the rest is me, because that's all I can remember is the doctor saying, oh my God, you have to lose all that weight. So there was a lot going on in that room when I gave birth to Alyssa.
Yeah.
And so, I had to go back to the doctor. And the doctor, when he did my episiotomy, he forgot the gauze inside of me.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, I was okay. Nothing major came out of that. And, and I was okay. And that was my first birth experience.
That sounds quite memorable.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that again. But we did. 2 years later, Tristan came along. Tristan now, I remember walking around Target, and he was born at 38 weeks, and that pregnancy I was sick all 5 months with him, to the point where I even had to go to the hospital. I couldn't stop throwing up. I was just we couldn't get anything down. Didn't gain as much weight with that one. However, when I did come home one night from Target after we walked all of Target, I get home and I went to use the ladies' room, went to use the bathroom. I was peeing, and all of a sudden I felt a pop. And I jumped off the toilet, and of course my water had broken. So this time I knew I had a little time. So I told my husband, I was like, oh, my water broke. I'm going to take a shower and shave. And then we can go to the doctor, call the doctor, let him know. So I took my time. I went in the shower, I shaved my legs, and, got myself all fancy. And because I knew, that I knew I was going to I understood it. So I wasn't as frightened and, as nervous. I knew what was going to happen. So I eventually went to the hospital and labored with him overnight. Now we got there like at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I had him at 6 a.m. the next morning. Now with Tristan, though, they attempted to give me the epidural, and they did. They put it in my back, but it never worked. I felt everything with him. And I tell people this, it was the best birth experience for me, feeling everything because I was in control. When I had the other one, when I had Alyssa, I was not in control of anything. I couldn't feel anything. I even tried to get up to use the bathroom after, and I couldn't because my legs are dead. And I just feel like when I didn't have the epidural and I was in full control, and maybe it's just my personality, I was able to, your body does adapt to the pain. Your body adapts and you somehow can manage. And there's just this sheer force inside of you to help get that baby out. And I remember everything. I remember the head, the shoulders. I remember the feeling of everything coming out and the relief once he was.
Yes.
And then so he was born at 38 weeks. And then with Chance, I was a little older. I was at 34, and I had high blood pressure. I've always had high blood pressure during all my pregnancies. And then with him, so I had to start seeing a specialist. And it got to the point at 37 weeks, there was protein in my urine, so they induced me.
Okay.
Worst experience ever. Inductions, it's horrible. The pain is not natural.
No.
It comes on so strong. It makes you feel like
you can't catch your breath, right?
Yeah, and then you have to get the epidural. Like, you have no choice. So I got the epidural with him, labored with him for about the same hours, maybe like 12 hours. Because I went in the night before. I think we had to go in for 8 o'clock. He wasn't born till 1 o'clock the next day. So yeah, then I had Chance, and that's it. But I would have one more, but it's too late. I'm not gonna have any more. I would have did it again. I would have did it.
Never say never.
No, never. It's not.
Okay, never.
But thank you for caring.
Now, okay, so you've had these wonderful babies. Talk to me a little bit about the postpartum period, though. So you mentioned a little bit earlier with Alyssa and possibly having baby blues, but what about any other challenges you didn't foresee?
Well, with Alyssa, I think I had the most challenges. Like, breastfeeding was really difficult. She wouldn't latch on. I had to use a nipple shield to get to help, her get a cuss. Because remember, she was also born technically premature, but not really. She was breathing on her own, so they allowed me to leave with her. So, but still, she still didn't have the strength to suck. And so I had to go through that. I was on the phone with the La Leche League almost daily. They were so helpful. I didn't have all those resources that women have now with the internet. I did. I had the internet. We had like babycenter.org, and there were like forums where women would talk. But then you start to realize a lot of these women, they're crazy sometimes. Like, I don't know what pregnancy does, but I could not like really relate to some of these situations. And I was just like, I'm just calling the experts. So latching was an issue. Everything that comes on with breastfeeding, the cracked nipples and everything that, that comes with that. But I will say it was also one of the most rewarding experiences. I nursed all my children. I nursed my first one right up until the point I got pregnant with the second one, which was about 16 months. And then the second one I nursed, he stayed on for 2 years.
Oh my.
Yeah, he stayed on forever. Yes, he got teeth at 5 months. What
are you saying?
Yes. And then the last one, I nursed him for about 16 months as well. And I would say that, my challenges would be the cutting them off from breastfeeding. That's hard. But I love
any tips or tricks for the listeners who might be trying to wean right now?
Well, none of my kids drank from a bottle.
Okay.
I would try to encourage you to try to get them to drink from a bottle, but we tried everything, even when they went away to daycare in the days. My middle one, Tristan, they would take a syringe and put the milk in it and just force feed it in his mouth because he wouldn't drink from a bottle. He just babies they're stubborn when they want to be. So they want mom. So I would just say, and my husband felt left out, like he couldn't help feed them or anything because it was just me. So any tips? I tried the cabbage leaves to dry up the milk, and that gave me severe gas internally. So I would say no to the cabbage leaves. Sudafed helps. I took Sudafed. They said that helps to dry it up. Sudafed helps. I've gone through having to drink the hops when you feel like you weren't producing enough. I've gone through everything. Overactive letdown, I had that as well. I've gone through all the stages, like when it
Yeah.
comes to breastfeeding. But as far as tips and tricks, number one, I'd say do it. Do it, do it, do
Mhm.
it. What I remember about breastfeeding and my experiences was that, as you can tell, I'm a very hyper person. It was so calming to me when I would sit down
Mhm.
and hold the baby, and after they're latched on for a few, I literally would feel from the top of my head through my body, I guess the serotonin, whatever is
Yeah.
released,
Mhm.
I would feel it. I would feel, and it was just a calming feeling that would take over my body. And
Right.
it was the best. So, and the bond that you develop, and not to mention, it's just so easy to, when they're crying, you just put them on the
I
breast.
know. Yes.
It's so easy. And, it's just, for
I
me,
know.
I couldn't even, the washing of the bottles and all that other stuff, to me, that just seemed like extra steps, like just too many
Mhm.
steps. So
I mean, thankfully you were able
I
to
was able
let
to,
your babies. Yeah.
yeah, because
I
I know
know.
there are some women who aren't able. And I don't,
Exactly.
and I don't know how I feel about the whole milk banks and all that other stuff. That was
Mhm.
something that wasn't appealing to me.
Right.
But I do hear that it is safe, and a lot of women take advantage of that. And so
Yeah.
it
And the
was
option is there for them. So,
right, right. So yeah. So for my experiencing, it worked.
okay. And so when would you say you felt like you were back to you again after maybe since first and second kind of went into each other? So you probably didn't
That
have a
I'm
break.
still trying to get back to me. What kind of question is that? I am still trying. Listen, it does
Oh
not
my gosh.
stop. It does not stop, because then you're going to different stages of life with them. Remember, I have a 20-year-old now and an 18-year-old and a 9-year-old. And
Oh,
once you have children, if you are a true dedicated parent, mother
mhm,
or father,
mhm.
there's you, but it's a different version of you.
Right.
I've always done my best to hold on to parts of me, like that's why I kept my career going, but I never pursued my career the way I really wanted to. I became a teacher for a few years so that I could be on the same schedule as them. I
Mhm.
would try to take jobs that would allow me to pick them up from school and drop them off
Right.
so that I could be there if something happened. I would make sure that I was there for them. And so I would drag them along with whenever I worked out. I used to work out a lot, not as much anymore, unfortunately, but I used to work out a lot, and I would drag them with me wherever I went. I made sure they were a part of everything that I did. I tried my best not to stop doing things for me,
Mhm.
like getting my nails done, and they would sit on my lap. I have pictures of them with their little toes in the water when my toes were in the water. I'm sure
Yeah.
the nail tech was annoyed that, I had my kids with me, or the
Mhm.
wax lady. She was
Mhm.
annoyed if I had my child sitting on my stomach while she has to wax. But whatever, I still tried my best to do what I needed to do to just remain and offer myself some sense of self.
Right.
But I don't think that it's hard, because when you're a parent, you're
Mhm.
deeply involved with everything. And as much as you want to do things for you, something comes up, and then the
Yeah.
kids will take
Take
over.
priority. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you say there were any specific negative repercussions because the, of having children that maybe affected your life, whether it was your career specifically or your marriage?
I won't call it negative. I would
Okay.
say it definitely altered um,
Mhm.
the desire. It didn't change the desires that I had in my heart when it came to my career, but it altered it because
Mhm.
of the fact that I went to school for broadcast journalism, and all my life I was told I was going to be the next Oprah. I'm doing this, and I was interning at a radio station since I was 16, and I was interning in movie studios. Then in college, I was at the news station, and right out of college, I told my husband, hey, I'm moving to New York, and I'm going to go do stuff. Good Morning America, or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
And then we found out we were pregnant and we were having a child. And, living somewhere where both sets of grandparents live was very, very attractive. And
Yes.
having that help. And I was very fortunate that I still was able to pursue a lot of the things that I wanted to do personally and career wise, while never having left South Florida, and while
Mhm.
having the support of two sets of grandparents. And
That's fantastic. Yeah.
so I've been very fortunate. There are still
Mhm.
some things that I wanted to pursue that I wasn't able to. And even like when I look back at working at the Heat, you know,
Mhm.
I wasn't able to dedicate myself to that job the way that a single person who didn't have children could.
Good.
You know, even just networking with your coworkers, going out to parties and doing things. No, I'm going home. I have a family. I was married. I have kids. It was a very, very different perspective that I had in life and things that I had to deal with. I wasn't living carefree. I did not have a stage in my life where I didn't have responsibility because, you know, right out of college, I became a mother. So I've always had responsibility. But on the flip side of that is, you know, I just turned 44 and people look at my daughter and, well, I'm turning 44 on Friday, but people look at my daughter and I, and they think we're sisters most of the time. And my kids be like, that's your mom. And so it is nice that I still feel youthful. I still, you know, look youthful. And I'm mentality wise, I'm at a so different place. I'm very mature. And my outlook on life is very different. And I have a lot of friends who are just starting off or who have little ones. And I'm just like, yep, I'm done.
Been there, done that.
We've done it, but we're not fully done because now we're paying for college and cars.
Right.
Not buying diapers, I'm paying for leases. So
now I'm gonna give you an opportunity to brag on these kids because you have some amazing children that have done some awesome things. So tell us a little bit about what Alyssa is doing because she's beautiful and smart and so just tell us what Alyssa's up to these days.
Well, these days, Alyssa is my great type A personality. She gets it done. She's very driven. She's very much like me in the sense that, you know, when she puts her mind to something, she's going to accomplish it. And right now she is working as a Miami Heat dancer. So she's my Heat family, which is so cute because she used to sit on the laps of the Heat dancers when I worked there. While I was working, she was sitting with the dancers as a 6-year-old, 6, 7, and 8-year-old, sitting with them. And now she's one of them. And a lot of the, you know, my former bosses and employers and coworkers who are still there, they all look at her and say, we cannot believe that this is Alyssa. Like we watched her grow up. And she's she's on a full scholarship to the University of Miami. She was originally studying neuroscience, but she's now studying, she's doing nutrition and I think like something in the bio, something.
Okay.
Smart,
stuff. So beauty and brains, basically.
Beauty and brains, yeah. So I'm super proud of her. She has a big heart. She's very loving. That's my girl. Like we do everything together. She's my date. If I'm not taking my husband, I try and drag her along everywhere because I want to expose her. I want to empower her as much as I can being a female. I think it's really important. And that's why I also always worked because I feel like I needed to show her the possibilities in life and show her that she can do more than one thing. And then I have Tristan, who's 18. He likes to let everyone know he's the first son because there's another son. So he's called the first son. So Tristan is 18 and he's about to graduate high school. Very proud of him. He has a 4.5 GPA and a 1200 on his SAT. And he's a star point guard at his school. And we're waiting for a college to figure out where he's going to play college basketball, as well as get his degree in finance. So he's following more in daddy's footsteps when it comes to that. And then we have Chance, as we call him, the wash belly. So Chance happened by chance, but nothing happens by chance.
Right.
So Chance is here. Chance came after, he's my rainbow baby. We thought we were done after we miscarried the twins. We said, you know, that's it. That's 4 kids. That's between us and we're good. You know, I teased Marcus that we would be empty nesters this summer had Chance not come into our lives.
I know, that's true.
He is such a special kid. He truly is the glue in our family. He's a big man. He's an old soul in a young man's body. And he's been a great addition to our family.
He's full of energy as well. I remember that.
Big personality, very loving, very different. He's my entertainer. I think personality-wise, Chance probably has a personality similar to mine out of all the kids.
Yeah. Okay. Just wonderful. You and Marcus have done an amazing job. And I can just see that from the one meeting that I've had with you guys. So congratulations. And it's something that, you know, it inspires me as a new mom to aspire to. So thank you for that. And I hope our listeners are also inspired by everything that you shared, your journey, and you're experiencing, because I feel like a lot of times we feel like we have to choose between our careers and
Oh,
being a mother, or our careers and having a family. And seeing you do it at such a high level kind of reinforces that it can be done. It can be done.
can I add a caveat though? It can be
Sure.
done, but there are days you will be crying. There are days where you will just implode. There are days where you won't resent your family, but you will. I don't like to say but because it cancels out whatever you're going to say before. There are days where it's going to be hard. And there
Right.
are days where you do have to choose. There are
Right.
days where you have to choose. And I know I'm going to get written up from work or I'm going to get in trouble from work but my child needs to go to the doctor. And
Yeah.
what am I going to do if grandma and grandpa can't take them that day or my spouse can't take them that day? And there are days you have to choose, and it is very tough. I've always chosen my family first. Because at the end of the day, what I've noticed, and I don't know if anyone's seen my LinkedIn, but I've had multiple jobs and I've worked many places. At the end of the day, it's your family. Though those kids are your responsibility. And it irks me so much when I see people put other people in front of their kids or, a new boyfriend or this and that. Even, just how I feel like when it comes to marriage and kids is that my husband comes before my kids and I
Right.
come before the kids to him as well, because they're going to leave us one day. They're
Yes.
already halfway gone and we have to still get along and like each other. And I
Right.
can see where people can get so caught up with the kids and you put the kids first. And then all of a sudden your relationship takes a toll. So I would just encourage you, Chanel, with your relationship, make sure that you guys carve out time for yourselves, because it is very draining being a mother and even being a father and having to deal with fighting people outside,
Yeah.
work and life and road rage and everything. And then coming home, you want peace. And the one thing I I'm that mother. My style was to have a free home where my house is not always the tidiest. And I hired help. I've had a housekeeper for 18 years. I've been
Oh,
fortunate. I'm not saying it because I'm rich. I'm not
yeah.
saying that. I'm saying that, whatever I could afford for her to do, even if she's just coming in 1 week at $60 to just clean the floors and wipe down the kitchen for me, or just to help organize the pantry or whatever.
Right.
I've had her off and on depending on my financial situation. But ask for help. I think that I did that wrong through the years.
Mm-hmm.
I did not delegate enough. I didn't trust people to watch my kids.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bother anyone. I always felt like
Mm-hmm.
it was solely my responsibility to get the kids from school. It's solely my responsibility to feed them, to do this. I really didn't allow a lot of people to help me. And
Right.
if I could turn back time, I would allow more to help and I would ask for more help. So I just want to encourage any woman, and you as a new mother, don't be afraid of the help. I never took a trip away with my husband until our daughter was 16.
Oh, wow.
Never traveled without the kids until my daughter was 16. And when we finally did, and I almost had like a breakdown, get here the day before, I was in there like hyperventilating, and all the women in there was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Leaving my kids. I don't know. I've never left my kids." And they were all like, "You're gonna be fine."
Yeah.
And they were.
Of
Kids are
course.
so resilient. And we
Mm-hmm.
put this pressure on ourselves as mothers to make everything perfect for them. We need them to fall. We need them to fail. We need them
Mm-hmm.
to forget their book at school and we not go rescue them and bring the book to school. We
Yeah.
need them to learn how to take care of themselves because we're raising humans. We're raising adults. They're just young adults.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really,
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Thank
yeah.
you for
So just
reminding
don't be afraid to add. Don't be like me and put so much on yourself.
myself. I know.
Yeah,
Now,
but
I like to wrap things up by asking my guests to choose a song
oh,
that's
yeah.
representative of their journey, the whole thing: pregnancy, birth, motherhood, parenting, in your case, like the whole shebang.
I
Do you have
know.
a song?
Gosh, do I have a song?
I know it's
I would
tough.
just say Bob Marley Legend CD is like my go-to CD for all my
Mhm.
moods. All my moods. If ever I'm sad, I pop it in. If ever I'm crying over a situation, I pop in No Woman, No Cry. And I'm like, yes, Bob, I know you're talking. I won't cry. I won't cry. That album always speaks to me.
Yes.
So, and I know his birthday's coming up. So it's something that I would say just anything on that album that
perfect. Yeah.
There's also the Mary J. My Life album to me that is my go-to album. So I can't say one particular song,
right.
But those albums are like my go-to to keep me going and everything.
Well,
but I appreciate you hearing about my story and even being interested. And I'm always available to help new moms.
Thank you so much.
My one advice is always, if you ever need to scream, you can call me, scream and hang up, and I'll know exactly what's going on. Like you need a friend like that. You need a friend that you can just scream into the phone and hang up.
No questions asked. Okay. All right. I'll take you up on that one. So thank you so much, Lisa, for being here with us today. And I look forward to sharing more about the LA PR firm, because I'm going to put that in the show notes so our guests can tune in, look you up. You're on Instagram, you're active, you're on LinkedIn as well.
Everything at Lisa Lee Inc. So LISALEINC everywhere.
Perfect. Great. This was wonderful. And thank you again.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Okay. All right. Bye. Oh, that was so good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me stop it.